And so today, what I want to talk about is diseases and the need for diagnosis for early detection. Now, I don't want to waste much of our time because it's obvious that most of us are tired and everybody is looking at time so that we'll round off. I'll just go straight to the point. The keynote speaker, Dr. Kuku, did a lot of good in what he said about reducing the burden of blood cancer in Nigeria. But if you look at it critically, how do we reduce the burden of any ailments in Nigeria? We don't go for tests. In fact, how do you even in the first place know that you have any disease if you don't go for testing? So testing is of paramount interest. Testing is very, very good. You need to really go for tests to know what is wrong with you. Now, more often than not, as a pharmacist, sometimes I go to the community outlets and I notice that people walk in there and say, I want ampiclos, probably. I want tetracycline. I want several antibiotics. And you keep wondering, who recommended this? You say, this is what I use. This is what I prefer to use. And there is no how you try to persuade such a person that the person listens. He said, no, this is what we're used to doing. And so, sometimes you tell you, you won't cut 2 capsules for me. The keynote speaker also talked about the people carrying these things in the head. They'll tell you, cut 2 capsules. And before you know it, the complications gets worse. And then at the end of time, when you've done everything humanly possible within your own limits, you're say, okay, let's go to the hospital, probably where you end up. And if there's anything happen, you now say, okay, this hospital killed me, or this doctor didn't do this thing very well. So that's a major challenge among us here, and it's good enough that we're here because most of us here present are stakeholders. Most of us here present have people look up to you. Most of us here present, people will want to listen to you, so you need to do the proper directing them in the right place for them to go. I mean, checking there for any ailment. The commonest diseases in our country here is typhoid and malaria, of course. And more often than not, they will tell you, okay, I have typhoid and malaria. I was discussing with someone today, he said she uses ciprofloxacin if there's any sign of such infection or any anti-malaria. But those things are self-medication. Now look at the implication. There's a burden on most of these things because over a period of time, you begin to develop resistance on most of these drugs that you're taking. Now the burden is even so severe that in recent time, FDA is the umbrella body in America that are responsible for churning new drugs. When you bring new drugs in the market, they are responsible for that. As of 2017, 46 drugs were released into the market. Guess what? Only 2 are antibiotics. You know the implication? For any drug to come into the market, first of all, the drug must be seen to have an existing or advantage over the existing one. That's 1. 2, it must show superiority in one way or the other, either in reduced side effects or frequency of dosing compared to the existing one. So before they release that, it means therefore that when you gain resistance to most of these drugs in the first place, it becomes difficult for the higher one for you to treat because of what we call resistance. And so the burden of treatment, if you don't test yourself properly, is resistance. So resistance is a very serious problem. And so my message is simple and clear, that we should not go for indiscriminate use of antibiotics. Now, I want to tell us a story that relates to most of these things. Somewhere this is a disease called neutropenic sepsis. The doctors, the healthcare givers know that. Now, neutropenic sepsis is a life-threatening complication of chemotherapy. Now, when I say chemotherapy, I mean people that are taking drugs on cancer. Thank God we're discussing cancer. Now, this complication, this neutropenic sepsis, in UK, they have this guideline. Most of these developed countries have this guideline for what they do. And now they have this guideline that since it's a medical emergency, so they give it as a time-dependent medical emergency. And so they say, okay, for this ailment to be treated, from the time you discover this, probably somebody on cancer treatment, from the time you discover this to the time, because it requires antibiotic administration, it should be 1 hour. So you can imagine a patient, maybe he's on cancer treatment, and he begins to feel somehow headache, general body pain or something, and it becomes so severe that he has to be rushed to the hospital. So if you use 1 hour to diagnose this person and then begin to treat the person, it takes time. So now there's this local, in the UK, they have what we call hospital trust. Hospital trust is the side that manages, the one is NHS, our one is NHIS, the one is NHS. Now, yeah, our one is not properly managed, but there, what they do there is, these people that are in charge of this now decided, okay, what do they do now to salvage this 1 hour guideline that was stipulated, because they will have to work with it. And it entails that you need to rapidly assess the patient before you give that antibiotics. And so they say, okay, within this 1 hour, what do we do? So they discover or they decide and say, okay, we need to develop a protocol that ensures that within this 1 hour, we properly test the patients and then treat before treating the patients. Because why? You don't have to indiscriminately use antibiotics. Sometimes most of these patients get admitted in hospital. So in discovering that, they now said, okay, there's usually that time is spent. What is time spent? Now, when a patient rushes to the hospital, a patient that has cancer, for instance, rushes to the hospital and have such neutropenic sepsis. Before you check, you take blood from the person's arm, put cannula, you need to search for the vein, and then look for all those things. Now, those things take time. That's one thing. Another thing again is, you can successfully take this blood sample and you go to the lab. Probably the laboratory technician that is supposed to do this test is not available. What do? You need to wait for the person or you need to call the person on the phone. Another challenge again. Then the last one is, the nurse that will take this blood sample will leave her desk, for instance, go to the laboratory to do this thing. Now, it's tying down valuable time because if you have another such emergency, it becomes a problem to tackle. So after looking at this hospital, the name of the hospital is Royal Devon and Exeter Hospital in the UK. So what they decided to do, trying to salvage this one, to meet up with this 1 hour deadline to ensure that more lives are saved as a result, now came up with this idea on using one equipment. Now this equipment is called WBC DIF. Now this equipment here it gives you a 5-part differential. Now, for a cancer patient, usually, you notice it's either sometimes the white blood cell count, which is like your body soldier. The white blood cell is the defensive arm of your body. It's like the Nigerian soldiers in Nigeria. So they tend to defend the integrity of your body and then helps you the tendency for you to fall in is reduced. Now, but when you have cancer, you notice that it's either, this white blood cell is either low in some instances or high, depending. Now, the keynote speaker went a lot on that. But the message is, for a neutropenic sepsis, you notice that the neutrophil level is low, abnormally low. Now, in order to check this, and I say, okay, you need to do this differential so that we really observe whether, your case, does it require admission or, okay, we can treat this person and the person goes. And in doing that, naturally, okay, for the time, to work on the time now to meet this deadline, if you have to check the veins of the patient and then get the blood sample, that is also time taking. This one doesn't need you to draw much amount of blood. You only require a fingerprint, a little amount of blood. You get your results with this. That's on one side. The second one is availability, staff availability. Now, when you go to the lab, now like I said earlier, and you didn't see the lab technician, it becomes a problem. You need to wait. For this equipment, you don't need to wait. Anybody can operate this. Just with simple, you don't need any technician or anybody to do this. And then more importantly, is by the side of the doctor in question, the oncologist. For instance, what Dr. Chikadibia is doing, with this, he tends to limit the number of time he has to waste on a particular patient. First of all, to discover maybe the one that is already on chemotherapy, to know that, oh, this patient needs this drug or need admission as a result. Then more importantly, the staff availability. Like I said, instead of the person walking around and going to the laboratory, the test is done immediately, and that's what is called point of care. Now, why am I saying all this? Because of that difficulty for us to test ourselves, and the need for us to test ourselves before even using antibiotics, whether in cancerous situation or in normal situation, there is need for us to, as stakeholders here and all of us present, to preach the need for everybody to always test themselves. Whenever you have any issues concerning your healthcare in any way, typhoid or anything, you don't need to indiscriminately use any antibiotics because of the